We have been studying the Gospel of Matthew. We now find ourselves at Matthew chapter 12. I will be reading verses 25 to 29. But knowing their thoughts, he said to them, every kingdom which is divided against itself suffers ruin, and no city or household which is divided against itself is able to stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How therefore will his kingdom survive? If I myself am casting out demons through Beelzebub, by whom do those associated with you cast them out? Because of this charge, they themselves will be your judges. But if I myself cast out demons through the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God has indeed come upon you. Furthermore, how is it possible for one to enter the house of a strong man and steal his goods, except the first bind that strong man, and then he can thoroughly plunder his household? Donald A. Hagner's translation in the Word Biblical Commentary. We live in a day and age that loves reason. Listen to enough scientists and you will hear from many of them that they are seekers after truth. If you go outside the church and speak to people of the reasons some will give for rejecting the faith, they will say that give you the idea that religions and religious truths are not reasonable. In some ways, we have created this idea in the modern world that there is the search for truth, which is good and noble. And then there is religious dogma, which involves non-thinking, conformity, and the denial of the self in the search for truth. The truly brave and noble person is the person who will abandon religious dogma and follow truth where it takes one. The problem with this, of course, is there is no obvious truth. People, in spite of what they think, are never fully objective. The Pharisees in particular, and the religious leaders in general, wanted to be seen as people who were wanting to pursue the truth. The Pharisees wanted to be seen as people who stood in defense of the scriptures and the faith of Moses. The Pharisees came to loathe Jesus. Now, the one caveat, of course, is not all Pharisees, but as a majority position, it was loathing Jesus. Jesus was a threat to their religious principles. Jesus challenged their authority. Jesus ultimately exposed them as being motivated by something other than faith. We should not say that they were insincere, rather as unable to see that they began with a bad foundation and they built off of that their system. You see, they were unable to see that they began with themselves at the center. You see, you can create a logically sound system, but if the foundation is wonky, it is all for naught. In this passage in Matthew, you see Jesus challenging the Pharisees on the basis of logic. The Pharisees were saying that Jesus, through the power of the demonic, was overcoming the demonic. Jesus rightly points out this would mean Satan is attacking Satan. Why would Satan attack himself? In their desperation to destroy Jesus, the Pharisees were forced to take a position that was, illogical. The Pharisees at this point were not interested in the logical merits of their position. They knew they had to do something to stop Jesus. Jesus was exposing them as people whose focus and lives were not built on God. We live in a world where we have created great systems to explain where we have come from and where we are going. We have developed and created all sorts of amazing technologies. We have come to accumulate a vast store of knowledge on how the natural world works. There is no denying of any of this. Yet in all of this, we, like the Pharisees, have failed to see that in Jesus the kingdom of God has come. We have bought into a narrow view of church and failed in the process to grasp the bigger truth. We, like the Pharisees, are proud of our systems and our beliefs. We, like the Pharisees, have created a system where we are the measure of all things. In this pursuit of a narrow vision of truth, we have become hostile to the real truth that is found in Jesus of Nazareth, his life, his teaching, his death, his resurrection, his ascension, and his soon return with the legions of angels to forever establish his kingdom.